Greetings all, BWS2K here, again with another video. I'm joined by, of course, Scott Summers, and we have a couple other Summers with us. We've got Major Christopher Summers, and we've got Nathan Summers from across space and time joining us as special guests and probably permanent members of the cast moving forward. What we have planned today is actually something that I've been wanting to do for a long time and have kind of hemmed and hawed on. I wasn't sure if this would be something that would cause problems, if this was something which would be kind of frowned down upon, but I'm going to run the breakout scenario, and I'm going to do this for a couple reasons. One, I'm going to run it because I've never actually played it. I've run it myself as GM, a dozen times, probably more than a dozen times at this point. There are some characters also that I don't typically see players choosing, so I've kind of got a roster of players or characters that I am curious to kind of run through, and of course they are X-Men because I enjoy the X-Men. So I kind of have that in mind, but I do feel the need to sort of point out that, well, we'll get to a disclaimer in a minute, but suffice it to say that I'll be using material from some of the Marvel Heroic game itself, and then also from the comics themselves as well, which if you've gamed with me, you've seen probably a lot of what we're going to be going through. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. It's not going to follow the story exactly, but I'll use some suggestions from the book, and we'll fight some villains, different villains than they usually suggest for the event. Yeah, so those two things being said, let's go ahead and shift into our Roll20 view, and we'll get things started. So I'll see you in a few. All right, so we are on the Roll20 view. That is a view that most of you are used to if you've watched some of my videos before. And here's my official disclaimer. I think what we're about to do today falls under fair use for the most part, sort of a review, sort of teaching, sort of critique of the Marvel Heroic role-playing basic game book. And then it's using the story that's the breakout story. The breakout event takes place in the New Avengers issue 1 through 6, I think, or 1 through, I think the event actually spills over into into like issue 7 a little bit maybe, but I'm not sure. But I own both of these publications, but I'm not monetizing the video, so I'm not gaining anything from this. If that's a problem, then someone can let me know in the comments, but I don't think I need to do this, but I'm doing it just to be official because I have no desire to be, garnering attention from Disney or whoever. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to run through the event. I actually did this once before already and messed up the video because I was trying to be fancy with my OBS skills. And you see the clip on my video. The video posted before this is me getting ready and doing, I think, one of the first rolls. And I pressed the hotkey for switching scenes, and so then I had like an extra hour and a half or maybe an hour of me, but it's just audio with my logo down at the bottom. So this is technically take 2, and it's been about a week and a half or 2 weeks since I shot that video, so hopefully I'm not going to be doing exactly what I did last time, because that would be boring for me, and since 50% of me doing this is because I enjoy doing it, I took some time off. So we're going to get into it. In terms of what the book suggests for how we set this up, since we're going to be playing some X-Men, they say this sort of little tagline is that the X-Men have been tipped off that something is going to happen in the raft facility. So what we're going to do is have the 4 members, Colossus, Cyclops, Storm, and Beast, all kind of patrolling the area in the Blackbird. And this would be the area around Rikers Island, which is the raft, which is a super max facility for supervillains. And there's several levels to it. The higher levels are sort of like B and C tier villains who either use equipment or they're depowered in some way, so they're less of a threat. But as you go lower, you have the higher threat villains who are contained in energy fields or stasis fields, or there's some sort of special something or other to keep them where they are. So that's where the X-Men have been tipped off that something's going to happen, but they don't have any idea about what it is that's going to happen, and so they're just sort of patrolling. Okay, so let me switch pages here. The way I usually run this with my games is I hide all these images in the GM layer and then show them to the players one at a time. Again, it's just us, so it's a little bit different, but we'll set the scene. It's a Saturday night, it's overcast, after dinner time, just past sunset, but people are still working those last couple hours or getting ready to have a night out on the town. And so you see the cityscape is all lit up there, and then all of a sudden the power starts to drop across the grid in the sections, and it's really quiet. And it's not just the lights, it's traffic lights, it's electronic like devices, watches, phones, everything that is electrical seems to be experiencing some sort of interference or has just shut down, drained, car batteries drained, that sort of a thing. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where the power has gone out, but I actually got to witness a transformer exploding one time in an ice storm, which caused a power outage in the surrounding area. I was actually on the street across from it, and it is the weirdest feeling because you never realize all of the ambient noise. Of course, living at an intersection, we have a little bit more ambient noise than usual now, but you never realize how much ambient noise there is until it stops. All the air conditioners, all the fans, all of the, in this case, the car engines, and all of these kinds of things just... So there's this like brief moment of just silence. And then the noise starts to pick up, and it's voices, and it's car wrecks, and it's people coming out of their homes, lifting up windows. And in this case, because it's a Saturday night, things are hopping and bopping, and all of a sudden the club music drops and all of these people are in darkness. So you've got people trying to figure out their flashlight situation, lighting matches, this kind of a thing. So there's this brief lull, and then there's this din and this clamor that starts to happen, and then a rumbling like thunder times 10, and an explosion on the island, on the raft, on the side of the raft, just and it's like lightning going from bottom to top, like lightning going from the raft up into the sky, and it hits the sky and just kind of like crackles and arcs across the clouds. And so anybody looking in this direction would see it, but pretty much everybody's going to hear it. It's going to be this huge thunderous explosion. Now, for people living in the city, they're probably used to explosions, but that doesn't make it any less scary. So there's panic that happens in the streets and stuff. And this is a SHIELD facility, so it's kind of they have a level of trust where it's like, oh my gosh, that was the SHIELD prison. This is a bad thing. Most people would at least comprehend that much about it. For superheroes, they know that this could be really bad because they've experienced confrontation with the villains, many of the villains who are housed here. But the X-Men being the ones who were tipped off, they're circling around, and I said the lightning sort of arcs across the sky and shoots out across the sky, and there's a SHIELD helicopter coming in for a landing on the flight deck that gets hit by the lightning and just boom, right? That's the word. Explodes and crashes. Now, it was not too far above the bay. It was coming in for landing, maybe a couple 100 feet, but nonetheless, it just slams down onto the deck, and the fuel and everything. The Blackbird, as hardened as it is, and it's used to space travel and things like that, is not too damaged and is able to make something of an approach and sort of make a hard landing on what's left of the flight deck area. But even the Blackbird, with its sophisticated technology, was able to be affected by this electrical disturbance. So they land on the flight deck, and Scott jumps out, and Beast jumps out, and Aurora jumps out, and Colossus jumps out, or I guess Aurora maybe takes to the skies to see this must be the thing. This must be the thing that they were tipped off. Something's going to happen, and they're like getting ready. So Scott is like, all right, Storm, take to the skies, keep the eye up there, let us know what's going on. Beast, get me some tech up and running. Who could we be expecting? Who are we looking for? Colossus kind of armors up, and so they're on the deck, and they're ready, and they're prepared. And one thing which will be different this time from what we're used to doing is usually it's just me and Scott. So it's usually just the two of us. We bounce back and forth with a token. This time I'm gonna pretend like each of the characters has their own player. So I'll be saying Colossus is going to do this and Scott's going to do this. So it gets kind of confusing. I tried to do it that other way with my other video that got ruined, and it was very tripping over my tongue. So we're just going to keep it simple. Like, it would be me as the watcher and 4 players, but I'll be also the players, right? Okay, so they're on the deck and they're ready for what's coming next. And then there is a sort of a secondary explosion which comes up and is a very different, full of energy, but a very different kind of energy. Up from the deck, just and in front of them is the living laser, who is this sort of humanoid form. So you have this laser beam just burn its way up through the deck and then sort of take this human shape, and he sees the X-Men and just sort of laughs and like does a little pew 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 pew, pew kind of thing, but he's ready for a fight. And the hole that he has essentially cut in the deck, you can hear the villains, just this mob of inmates who are still in their jumpsuits, most of them orange jumpsuits, sort of like clamoring and rah, 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 you know, no discernible words necessarily, but they're starting to kind of crawl and get up. SHIELD agents that would have been on the deck are kind of incapacitated at the moment because of the helicopter crash, and they're still trying to figure out what's going on. And you know, in a bit there will probably be some emergency lighting and some klaxons, some ambient noise, you know, emergency responses. But for the moment, it's the X-Men and just the X-Men here on the deck. And then lastly, as the living laser kind of does his little showy offy thing, the rain that's hitting the deck, there's like a geyser, like in Yellowstone, what's Old Faithful, like just huge gush of water just out of the hole past those villains, and then splashes down on the deck and then starts to reform up into this form of Hydro Man. So we've got two named threats. We have the living laser and we have Hydro Man, but we know that there's these other villains who are kind of coming up out of the hole. Now these are not necessarily people that any of the X-Men are familiar with or are familiar with the X-Men, but this is and this is also not who is in the book as like the recommended people to fight, but I like using them, so that's what we're going to do. And it worked out really great last time, and I'm sad that you can't see that, but it was really fun and dramatic. So we're going to do some different things this time. Scene distinctions: open to the elements and reinforced entry bay doors, which is we're on the flight deck, but there are bay doors to get inside. Our Doom Pool starts out at 2d6, and then you can see Living Laser there. You can see Living Laser's sheet. Solo buddy team D4, D6, D8. I want to be human, research physicist, and show off are the distinctions. Photonic form, one power set. Photonic form, godlike flight, intangibility at D12 as well, light supremacy at D12, and then laser blast at D10. An SFX called holographic constructs, which is add D6 and step up your effect die by 1 when using photonic form to create light or hologram related assets. SFX called immunity, spend D6 from the Doom Pool to ignore stress, trauma, or complications from vacuum, hunger, thirst, or fatigue. Limit of mirror, step up or add a D6 to the Doom Pool to turn a photonic form power into a complication because of mirrors or reflective surfaces, or water. Activate, I mean, it doesn't say water, I'm adding in water, right? But water is a reflective surface. Activate an opportunity to recover that, and then energy form limit. Step up or add D6 to the Doom Pool and shut down photonic form when stressed out by energy draining or light trapping tech. And the living laser's name is Arthur Parks, and he has 3 specialties: crime expert and tech expert, and science master. So that's 2 D8s and the D10. The mob of minor villains is just a group of 5 D6 team affiliation die. And so you knock out those dice to kind of thin out the mob. It's not necessarily 5 villains. It's just the villain mob is broken up into sort of 5 parts. 3 distinctions for them: dangerous, desperate, and drugged, because we love alliteration. And then they have 2 traits, mob traits: grab at D8 and swarm at D8. And then they also have the area attack SFX, which allows them to target multiple opponents. For every additional target, add a D6 and keep an additional effect die. So every time you have an additional target, you add in a D6 and you keep an additional effect die. So if this mob was to attack the 4 X-Men that we have, they would add in 3 extra D6 to their pool, and they would keep 3 extra effect dice. And then their limit is the mob cohesion, which just says you've got to do D8 stress to them or a D8 complication, and it will knock off one of their D6 team dice. And then lastly, we have Hydro Man, solo buddy team, D6, D4, and D8. 3 distinctions: dumb as a post, thug, and vengeful. Liquid body power set for enhanced strength, D8, growth, D8, intangibility, D8, swimming, D8, water blast, D8, and water control, D8. He also has the area attack SFX. He has another one called drown. Add D6 to your dice pool for an attack action and step back the highest die in your pool by 1. Step up physical stress inflicted or complications created by 1. And then the limit of dried up. Shut down all liquid body powers versus dehydrating attack, and step up or add D6 to the Doom Pool, and then activate an opportunity to recover. And then 1 specialty of crime expert, and that's Morris Bench. is his name. And then we have our 4 heroes. I'm not going to go through reading all of their data files, but I figured it was important to at least read the villain ones because not everybody is as familiar with the villains. But the 4 heroes we have: Cyclops, Beast, Colossus, and Storm. And you can pause the video and read their data files, or you can look in the book if you have the books. But it's basically everything that you'd expect. And I'll read as we're playing things that are applicable, but I'm not going to waste time going through there. So the first thing we'll do is point out that if you are watching, you will see these little rings that I have over affiliation. Now, the affiliation die, or the affiliation dice, in the books, the way it's worded, I go back and forth on the Discord, even with Cam, about this, and I most of the time when we run games, we don't run it the way the wording in the book says. We usually run it with, if you're doing a solo action and you want to use your solo die, you do that. But the way it's written in the book makes me believe that it's actually supposed to be a little bit more exclusive. If you choose an affiliation die, that sort of soft locks you into that affiliation until you have an action or reaction roll where you can adjust it. So if you have, for instance, these 3 or these 4 characters, and Beast decides for whatever reason to use his buddy die, then when somebody else is making an asset for the team or something like that, he doesn't really have mechanical access to that. And there may be a narrative justification that you could say, oh, well, Beast is going to do this too, but he can't mechanically benefit from it because until he has the chance to adjust his affiliation die in another action or reaction roll. I say that, I'm going to give it a shot running things that way. I don't know that this is the best way to do it. Again, most folks that I know of that play with it much more loose than that, and they just say, okay, well, fine, if you're making a solo action, use your solo die. But I'd like to give it a shot like this time. So that's what those rings are. So when we change affiliation, I'll scoot them over whichever one is being used in the moment. So we've got our 4 heroes. Usually you let the person with the highest reflexes or senses go first. And in this case, I believe it's Beast who has enhanced senses and superhuman reflexes. Storm has enhanced reflexes, and I think that's it. Oh, enhanced senses. But of the 4 of them, Beast is probably the one mechanically who you could make an argument for reacting first, which again makes sense. So we'll have Beast go first. And so for his turn, Scott had just told him to kind of like try to pull up data that would help. Maybe he can find some dossiers or some reports on who at least Arthur Parks and Hydro Man are. And they kind of have like those communicators, right? So Beast is actually going to spend his turn to create an asset that will be able he's going to create an asset and spend a plot point to make it permanent for the rest of the team, or for the rest of the session, that will allow them to, well, no, actually I take that back. If I spend a plot point, it's available for the rest of the session. If I don't spend a plot point, it's available for the rest of the scene. But there's some ambiguity in the rules, whether it's just a one-shot or for the scene. But I think we've established actually that it would last the scene without spending a plot point, and that's all we need. So we won't need to spend a plot point. But he's going to establish an asset, and he's going to but he's going to spend a plot point to make it available to everyone. I'm getting my Cortex Prime mixed up with my Marvel Heroic here. So that's what he's going to do, an asset of like criminal dossier to help everyone on the team fight these villains. Okay, so he's going to get together a pool that does that. He's working as part of a team. He's following Scott's orders, so he's going to get his D10 for that. In terms of distinctions, probably smartest man in the room, 1d8. Bestial mutant, enhanced senses, superhuman reflexes, enhanced stamina, superhuman strength, enhanced durability. I don't think any of those really apply. I mean, you could make the argument for enhanced senses in the sense of like maybe he has some special goggles that he can use to like scan the criminals, but that's not really part of the bestial mutant. That's not what's going on there. But we will use Tech Master D10 specialty. And actually, let's split that D10 up into 2d8. That's one of the things you can do, is you can split a Master D10 into 2d8 or 3d6. So that's not a lot of dice, it's 4 dice. And this will be against the Doom Pool. So we've got a hitch right off. We can make a total of 13 with D10, because we can add the 8 and the 5, so that's 13, and then we can have that first die, that D10 will be our effect die. to create criminal dossiers. Assets. Come on. For the team. Like that. Actually, do I have the... No, I don't have it set up that way. So Beast has a total of that. And then the Doom pool, which is just 2d6, which we will roll, even though it's impossible that 2d6 is going to get us to the... Oh, well, no, let's go order of operations first. Let's give Beast another plot point. And we will buy that hitch, activate that hitch, or opportunity rather, from him, giving him a plot point, but allowing us to step up one of our Doom dice. So now we have 1d6 and 1d8. And that actually does maybe give us a chance of getting a 13. Very much no. But also rolled an opportunity. Does anyone want to spend a plot point to take advantage of that opportunity? I don't think so. We're low on plot points. Nobody's really going to do that just yet. So that's Beast's turn. So we'll move Beast, his token down. And he's created this asset. And the asset is called Criminal. Man, my typing is no good today. And it's a D10. Is dossier supposed to be plural? Or is it singular? Is it plural when it's singular? I don't know. Like 7 years of French in school. We're going to go with an S. So criminal dossiers, and I'm not going to bother putting it on everybody's sheet, but it is on the table that everybody can use, so he'll spend a plot point to put it on the table so everybody can use it. All right, that's Beast's turn. Beast is going to choose, so we're going to have Beast sort of like scan them real quick and come up with this thing, and I think he's going to then pass it to Scott, so he'll like sort of report back to Scott, uploading the information now, Scott. And so he sends it over, and it makes sense that Scott would be the next to act. So Scott is going to probably, like I said earlier, he kind of gave the orders around a little bit. He's going to like sort of press the attack now, and he's going to say, Storm, you take care of the Hydro Man. Colossus, see what you can do about the mobs, and I'll take on the laser. So he's going to roll his dice to do physical stress to Arthur Parks there. So we'll do 1d10, acting as part of a coordinated team effort. It's so this is kind of where those affiliation arguments kind of come in. Like, Scott is the only person attacking Arthur, so is this a solo action? Well, it's part of a coordinated team effort, and he's kind of leading the team. So it's a D10, but it's a D10 because he's organizing and planning and leading, right? At least that's how we're doing it. So 1d10, I don't have time for this, tactical genius and uncompromising. I think we're going to go with I don't have time for this at 1d8 because things are going to get bad really soon if they're not able to keep a lid on this. Force blast, 1d10. And then we have area attack, which we won't bother with. Energy absorption, which may come into play later. Ricochet, which is step up or double the force blast die against a single target. But then I remove the highest rolling die and add an additional die. Now I'm not going to worry about that, but I will throw in combat expert as a d8. So that's 2 d10s and 2 d8s to do physical stress to the living laser. We rolled our hitch because always got to roll those ones. And we can do, we can do 7, 9, and 2. Well, that's not a lot. As the GM, I will, as the watcher, I should say, I will go ahead and add another. Do I want to do that? No, I'll bump it up. So now my Doom pool is 2 d8s, and we'll give Scott an extra plot point. Buy that one off of it. It's not a lot, but it's okay. Total of 9. D10 effect. Let's put Cyclops to do physical stress against Living Laser. And then Living Laser is going to roll a reaction roll, which is, he is very much solo. There's no coordination so much on the villain's part. They've just kind of broken out, at least not yet. They're just kind of broken out. So 1d4, I want to be human, research, physicist, and show off. I think we're going to go show off as 1d4 and add to the Doom pool because, so we'll step up the lowest die, so now we have a d8 and a d10. Because he probably should have run away or flown away at godlike speed, but instead he's choosing to hang around and cause trouble. So, and then we'll use, he's being hit, so probably intangibility. To represent the fact that, you know, maybe Cyclops' optic blast goes right through him, or not. I don't know. We'll see. He's a living laser, but it wasn't a high roll from Scott. Holographic constructs, immunity, mirror, energy form, none of that matters. Science master, crime expert, tech expert, those things don't really matter. Do I want to use Science Master? Maybe we'll use Science Master. I kind of let Iron Man use Tech Master whenever he's doing something in the suit. So Science Master, living laser, interacting with Force Blast, sure. And this is a reaction roll. Oh, I didn't do the roll part, I guess. Nope, I didn't. Ooh, and Scott succeeds. So, although... So there's a choice here. If I make it a total of 4 and I keep the d12, that will step down Cyclops' effect die, but then it will step his effect die back up because 4 is the difference of 5 to Cyclops' total of 9, right? So it gives Cyclops a heroic success. If I make the total 6, then it won't be heroic success, but it won't step down the d10 effect. So either way, it's going to be d10 incoming. So let's do... Well then, total of 4, d12 effect, LL is hit for d10 physical stress. And we'll mark that. They don't really have stress tracks. d10 physical stress. Put that down there. So the concussive blast kind of hits him and he sort of like has interference, like he scrambles a little bit and like his form kind of glitches, and the force blast, you know, of course it's red and living laser is more of this bright yellow, and it kind of like arcs across him and disturbs sort of a noise, and he kind of maybe screams, but it's like warbled a little bit, and so that deals d10 stress to him, so that's good. So that's Scott, and then I think Scott's going to go ahead and let the villains go next. We don't want to let them go last. So we'll let the villains go next. Now, after that opening salvo, we're going to see some action. So we've got Hydra Man and we've got the villains. I feel like Living Laser's probably doing... he works best as part of a team. I don't know if he's going to want to... How do we want to do this? Hydra Man's definitely going to work together as a team with the minor villains. So he's definitely going to help them out. So maybe Living Laser is going to specifically go after Storm, who's up in the air. Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll have Living Laser sort of target Storm with his laser blast. And then what we're actually going to have the minor villains and Hydra Man do is work together to mess up those folks on the ground. We're going to do like a helping die situation. So I'll show that off when we get there. But let's do Living Laser's laser blast against Storm first. So he's going to go 1d4 because he's not interested in helping other people out. He's the embodiment of energy. Why would he bother to help out minions, right? Like he's not interested in working together as a team. Again, we're going to use show off, but we'll use it as a d8. He probably should be running off, but he's not. Or I guess we did it as a d4 last time when we did that, huh? All right, we'll use it as a d4. Bump up the Doom pool again. Up the d8 to a d10, so now we have 2 d10 in the Doom pool, which is nice. Laser Blast, 1 d10 for that. And we're not making assets, so he'll use the Science Master as well, 1 d10. So this is just straight up, he just snarls from Cyclops' blast and then just kind of like soars in this beam right at Storm, hoping to zap her out of the sky. Well then, that's a pretty good roll. Cyclops, you want to grab that opportunity? No. Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to have Cyclops spend a plot point to get a stunt die, because I have an interesting idea that I want to try with his area effect. So on his turn, like when it comes back to him, he'll have a stunt die he can use. For now, we'll go with a total of, let's do a total of 18. And the hope will be that it will be high enough to get a heroic success that will step up the D4 effect. But either way, D4 effect. Yeah, that's what we want to do. To do physical stress, Storm. So Storm's going to get a reaction roll. Now she's up in the sky. She is working as part of a team. Let's think on this for a second. Oh, you know what I didn't use for Cyclops was the dossier. All right, fine, whatever, it worked. So the question then is, does Storm go to solo because she's up in the sky? Is anyone helping her? The dossier could help her, which is a team-based asset. It does kind of feel like nobody's really helping her, and I don't know that anyone could see a laser, you know, traveling at the speed of light to shout out to her. So I think I'm gonna have her go to solo for this. So she's gonna actually shift over there. It's not her best die, but I mean, it's kind of like what's happening, right? So 1d8 in her reaction roll. Claustrophobic, mercurial, and strong-willed leader. I think we'll go with mercurial, which kind of hopefully will represent the fact that she's sort of not predictable in how she's in the sky. Like she can dodge, but it's not totally predictable which way she would dodge. So we'll give her a D8 for that. Electrical blast, enhanced senses is probably the way, or enhanced reflexes rather. I don't know that anything in the in the atmosphere is going to help her. Area attack, emotional link, immunity, multi-power, emotional tempest. Nope. And then combat. So 1d8. So she's going to have to spend a plot point to be able to have any hope of beating an 18. And she doesn't have access to that asset. She's kind of doing her own thing right now. Hey, 16 plus 5. That's a 21. With a D4 effect, but the effect won't matter because she's beat the total. All right, she's going to spend her plot point. That is a really good roll. So we're going to spend a plot point to keep a third total die. So we're going to add the 8d8 and the 5. So that's 16 plus 5, which is 21. And it's a D4 effect, but the D4 effect doesn't really matter. She's not going to inflict that as stress. She doesn't have a plot point to make it happen. Storm dodges. So it's kind of like she's used to lightning, and this is not even a zigzaggy thing. This is just like a laser blast. So she's able to kind of like dodge out of the way last minute. So that's nice. Oh, and she could have added the D10 physical stress too. Here, let's do that just out of curiosity to see. It would have been a 9. Wow. Okay. Let's do it that way. Let's well, okay, so hang on. She rolled a 1, so let's add another die to the Doom pool. I'm sort of retconning a little bit here, because that roll does make a difference. So letting her roll another D10, okay? So she has a plot point because they just bought the opportunity off her. So technically she'd have 2 at this moment. And then spending a plot point to keep a third die would be 1 plot point away, but she's got 2, so she still has 1 left. So she can actually have a total of 8 plus 8 plus 9, which is 16 plus 9, which is 25, with a D8 effect, because it's that 5 that we don't have to use this time. And now she will spend her plot point to counterattack, to inflict her effect die back at her attacker. And a 25 is actually a heroic success against Living Laser's 18. So it means this is going to deal D10 physical stress to Living Laser. So, yeah, okay, I like that. So what'll happen essentially is Living Laser blasts at her, and she's able to sort of dodge, but, you know, the rain, and maybe there's some lightning involved a little bit, and it actually, he misses her and maybe hits, maybe she like zaps him a little bit with some static electricity or something like that, but he misses, and he ends up getting frizzled a little bit again, and he takes D10 physical stress, which is actually going to step up the stress that he has to a D12. He's not having, this is a very short-lived escape for him. But now we have the mob of minor villains, and we have Hydra Man. So Hydra Man is going to do an area attack on the 3 heroes who are still on deck, and he is actually going to be working with the mob of minor villains. So he's actually going to use all of the water and the rain that's on the deck to sort of propel forward the villains and to try to hold fast the heroes. So kind of making it easier for one side and more difficult for the other. And maybe directing the rain a little bit too, although that's more of a weather thing, but you know, we can bend rules a little bit. Maybe he's making it dry for the villains so that they're not soaking wet and they don't have to slip around on the deck the way the heroes do. So we're actually going to have the mob of minor villains give their swarm die to Hydra Man as part of Hydra Man's action. So the mob of minor villains, their single action is going to be give their swarm die to him. So it's like a helping action, supporting action. So Hydra Man's going to take an action, and he's going to get to use the team affiliation. And he's going to take an action, and this will be to put a complication on each of the heroes. And the complication will be something like stuck. And then we'll get to keep additional effect die. All right, because he's got the area attack. So 1d8 for using team affiliation. Vengeful, we'll use Vengeful as a d8. Water blast, growth, water control, that's the one we want. And then area attack, so let's say he focuses on Cyclops, there's still Beast and Colossus, so that's 2 extra targets. So it's plus 2d6, and then we'll keep a total of 3 effect dice. So that's that, and Crime Expert, I don't think Crime Expert so much helps here. This is not so much crime. All right, you rolled an opportunity. I don't think anybody's going to spend a plot point to take advantage of it, but if we do a total of 12, that's probably reasonable. With so we've got an 8, a 1, a 4, a 3, and a 3, and the 8 and the 4 are on d8s. So if we do a total of 12, and then we keep the 3 and the 3 for Cyclops and Beast, and then just give d4 to Colossus. Yeah, that's good. Or d6 to Cyclops and Beast, and d4 to Colossus. For Stuck. Complication. All right. Cyclops rolls. This doesn't feel like a team effort. I don't know that the team is necessarily going to help here. They're not really helping each other in terms of the water. It's kind of a solo effort, kind of like with Storm being up by herself. So we're going to go solo for Cyclops. So Hydra Man kind of like is doing this, and he's like, what should he say? Something watery. Something like, I wondered how long before some of you drips would show up. Something like that, right? And he turns towards the villains, and he's kind of like helping them out. Not so much leading them, but like making things easier. And they're just looking, they know that they're probably not going to be out here for much longer. They just want to like beat somebody up while they have the opportunity. So it's like all of your C-list villains who would normally have prosthetics, like what's his name, Razor Fist has like these things he can put like blades on his hands, or other equipment and stuff like that. They don't have it. They're still in their jumpsuits, and they're just like running across the deck ready to beat up anybody that they can find. And in this case, it's Cyclops, Beast, and Colossus. So Cyclops is going 1d6 because he's not really getting any help to resist this water situation, this stuck situation. I don't have time for this. We'll do as a D8 again. That's his distinction. Force Blast isn't going to help him here. You could rule that he'd maybe be trying to splash the water or something, but that's not really how his Force Blast works, and this is a reaction roll. So that's not really going to come into play. Combat Expert does 1d8. This is not a great roll for him. But he can do a total of 10. He does have a plot point. We have a 3, a 3, and a 7. If we did a total of 7, it would be a heroic success on the case, or on the part of, oh, let's not forget heroic, or the criminal dossier asset, which is a 5. Okay, so that helps some. So if we do the 5 and the 7, that's a total of 12, and we gotta beat 12. So we'll spend a plot point, and we'll keep a total of 5 plus 7 plus 3. So that's a total of 15. With the D 5 plus 7, yeah, with the D8 effect. Cyclops is not stuck, but he spent his plot point. Come over to Beast. Beast is going to do the same thing. Again, it's kind of a solo situation, getting stuck there. So he's going to have 1d6. Genetic Activist, Renaissance Beast, smartest man in the room. Let's go with Renaissance Beast, because like the phrase Renaissance man means like somebody who's good at everything, or is capable in a lot of ways. Let's go with Renaissance Beast, but we'll go with the D4. Because he is capable of many things, but resisting Mother Nature maybe isn't one of them. Enhanced durability, stamina, strength. I'm going to use his strength. That seems to make the most sense to sort of resist the water that's trying to sort of suck him to the deck. None of those things matter. Acrobatic Master. Yeah, let's do Acrobatic Master, because he's kind of like trying to pull up from the deck, but you know, he's Beast. He's probably not walking. He's sort of like doing an acrobatic cartwheel kind of deal, lunging, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like pouncing, you know? So he's going to be trying to kind of like travel across the deck like that, so we'll allow that in there. Against that total of 12. Oh my gosh. All right. So that's 2 hitches, or 2 opportunities that he just rolled. So we will give him a plot point, and we will step this D6 up to a D8, and then again to a D10. So our Doom Pool is now 3D10. And Beast gets another plot point for that. And then he can do a total of 13. But it's just going to have a D4 effect. Beast is not stuck. Alright, and then Colossus, who is in his armored form, whereas Beast was kind of trying to use his strength to bound, that's the word I was looking for, bound across the deck. Colossus is just brute force trying to, you know, pull his feet forward and just resist the water. So he gets the 1d6 for his solo affiliation. Ironclad Loyalty, Quick to Anger, and Russian Farm Boy. Yeah, probably Ironclad Loyalty, just in the sense of he's acting as a team, or he's not acting with his team affiliation die, but like they're there sticking it to the bad guys. So I feel like that probably works. And then Godlike Strength. None of the other things matter, but then Combat Expert. Ooh, it's not a super high roll, but there are no hitches. So we need a total of 12, which we can do. We need to beat a total of 12, which we can do. We can't do, because even if we spend a plot point, we can only keep 3 die. We have a 3, a 5, a 4, and a 3, which gives us 9 plus 3 is 12, if we keep a 3rd die. So it's not worth doing that. So Colossus's total is going to be 9. So what's interesting here is if he goes with 9 and he does a D8 effect die, that D8 is higher than the incoming D4, so it would step the D4 down. So even though he fails in his reaction roll, his effect die is large enough that it negates the effect die that's coming in. So let's say that to make this interesting, so Colossus fails to resist the water like adhesion to his feet, but what it actually does is when he's like lifting up his feet, it pulls up the deck underneath the water. So the water is still attached to him, but in fact he was able to just keep going, almost like pulling up the deck as he's plodding forward. Yeah, I like that a lot. So there's no complication that gets applied to him because his effect die steps down the D4, but we'll make it a little bit exciting in that sense of like it's ripping up the deck for him to keep walking forward. So he's just like keep going. And then he could have included criminal dossier. I keep forgetting it. Maybe I should have put it on everyone's sheet. I keep forgetting it. So that was the Watcher going, and now we have 2 other people left, and that allows us to have Colossus and Storm. So I am going to have Colossus go next, since we're already like right now in the moment focused on him, and he's just going to wade into the minor villains and just start pummeling and throwing to the ground, not too like just hoping to knock them out, throw them back into that hole, that sort of a thing. And I think he has area attack, so he's going to use his area attack against them. It's not really going to have anything to do with living laser. I'm thinking of him like sort of like pounding the deck and like getting in there. So I'm not sure that it's even really going to hit Hydro Man, although it'd be cool if we could splash Hydro Man. But I don't think we're going to include Hydro Man in this area attack. This is Colossus versus the mob, which actually is kind of comic appropriate. Isn't he attached to the mob in some the ultimate ones, I think, right? Anyway, so he's going to just kind of get in there and start slinging. So he's got 1d6. Now wait, let's see. Is there a way we want to change the team affiliation die now that we've all done this? Maybe we go back to team because Scott is able to call out, or Colossus is able to call out. No, let's have Colossus be the one to do it. Something like, "Keep fighting, my friends," in the terrible Russian accent from the Saturday morning cartoon series. It's not so terrible. It was fun, but still. So he's like, "Keep fighting, my friends," and Beast and Cyclops continue to kind of stick with what it was they were trying to do. So we'll swap him back to team because he's sticking to doing what he was told to do, and trying to get the team back into motion. So 1d10 for that. Ironclad loyalty for his friends. Godlike durability, godlike strength, really here. Area attack. So we have 5. There are 5 dice for the mob, right? 5 team dice. So we have 4 additional targets. So 4d6 for area attack, and then none of the other things matter. And combat expert 1d8. All right. Daggone, I did it again. There we go. Well, that's good, but we've got two hitches, 2 ones. So we'll give him a plot point. Is there an extra plot point out here? Yeah. So we'll grab that plot point, and then we'll add a d6, and then we'll step it up to a d8. Into the Doom pool. This Colossus is kind of acting right now. So now he needs to make a total, and then we'll measure up his effect dice. So he wants a nice high total. And I think we'll go with the 8 and the 6. And I feel like I want to throw in another 6 because we just got that plot point. So let's do that. Let's go with Colossus's total of 8 plus 6, which is 14, plus another 6, which is 20. And then it's going to be, so that'd be an 8 and the 6 and the other 6. So our effect dice are a d12, a d8, a d6, and then d4. So d12, d6, right? No, if we use the d10 that rolled an 8, and then we use the D6 that rolled the 6 for 14, and the 5 that was on a D8 for the total of 20. Is that right? No. 8 and 6 is 14, plus the D8 6 for a total of 20. So then our effect dice are a D8, a D6, a D12, D8, D6, D12, and then a bunch of D4s. So D8, D6, and then D4, D4. All right. We'll come up to the mob. The goal here, the hope being that that will score a heroic success, which will actually step up the effect dice, which will stress out more of the mob. Okay, so they are going to roll 5d6 plus, we will have them as desperate, but we'll use it as a d4 because, again, they are desperate, and it's probably they're not really necessarily working together as much as the fact that they're just all together in a group. So we will step up that last, or that d8 that we just added in. So we've got 4d10 in the Doom Pool. And then we'll go Swarm. Just to represent the fact that there's so many of them, hopefully they can get a few hits in on Colossus and not be totally taken out. But that's the best they can do. 5d6, a d4, and a d8. So if they add up their dice against a 20, so there's no way they're making it against a 20. They can make a 12. With a d6, a d6, a d6, a d8, and a d4. So 3d6, 1d4, 1d8 effect dice. So that means that with Colossus's heroic success, his effect dice is going to be stepped up above a d12, so that doesn't matter. A d10, a d8, so he's going to stress out 3 of them, and then he's going to put a d6 complication on, and the d4 steps up to a d6, and that other d4 steps up to a d6. So if we just say that, so follow me on this. One of Colossus's dice, his effect dice was a d12, he had a heroic success, it steps up and out, so we've knocked off one of them. He had a d8, that's going to step up to a d10, that knocks off another one. He had a d6, that steps up to a d8, that knocks off another one. His remaining effect dice are each going to step up, and they are a d4 and a d4. They're going to step up to d6s. So let's have, rather than have 2 d6 complications, let's have a d6 complication and then step it up to a d8, which will take out a 4th mob die, okay? Kind of ruling a little bit like that. 1 mob die remains. So we'll pull down some X's. And this is basically Colossus walking in amongst them, knocking a bunch of them back down into below decks, and some of them go off flying into the water, and there's, really thinning them out. Some of them jumping on him because they're, hoping to get some excitement before they go back to jail. So that's Colossus, and that leaves us with Storm. So Storm is kind of up in the air with Living Laser. I didn't give Colossus the criminal dossiers either. Okay, so I make a lot of mistakes. At least I'm telling you that I've made mistakes instead of forgetting and having to put it in the comments below. I keep forgetting that we have this asset that everybody can use. Storm's going to do an area attack as well. She's going to kind of like fly up into the sky and then just start directing lightning bolts. So this will be an area attack that will target Hydra Man and Living Laser and the mob, the single mob die that's left. So I think I'm going to keep her as solo to do this. Even though it technically is on Cyclops' orders, it feels like she's been sort of removed a little bit, specifically with Living Laser, and so she's just going to kind of unleash, but still aware that there's other things going on down at the bottom. Is that how we want to do it? Because if she's doing the area attack, that does feel like a team action, doesn't it? Yeah, alright, so it's not an area attack, but we'll have her zap Living Laser anyway. So we'll do 1d8, because she's all by herself, kind of tangling with Living Laser up there. Claustrophobic, Mercurial, Strong-Willed Leader. We'll go Mercurial at d8. Oh, she doesn't have any plot points, does she? Because it feels like I want to hinder. No, she's playing it risky. No, we'll go Strong-Willed Leader at d4 because she probably should be listening to Scott. Scott's team leader right now. She should be listening to Scott. Not that she's not capable of being a leader, but she's technically going off script. And that will hinder. So we'll use Strong-Willed Leader as a d4, and that will get us a plot point. And then Electric Blast, 1d10, because she's just trying to zap Living Laser. Nothing else there. Nothing else there really matters. And then Combat Expert, 1d8. And this is to do physical stress to Living Laser. Alright, so we've got a 6, a 3, a 3, and a 5. We can go 11, we can go... Let's spend that plot point. Oh! And the dossier. Oh no, she doesn't have access to the team asset, because she's solo. Okay, so yeah, let's spend the plot point to keep 3 dice. Let's go the 6, the 5, and the 3 that's on the d4, and then we'll use the d10 that's left as our effect die. So it'd be 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 5 is 14. With the d10 effect. Although, come on. It doesn't really matter what size the effect die is. If it works, it's going to tip up his d12 past d12, and so he would be taken out. But she's going to try to zap him. So Living Laser is going to roll 1d4, so this is his reaction roll. Let's go with Show Off again at 1d4, because this is kind of getting him in trouble. And we'll actually step up one of these d10s to a d12. So our Doom Pool is 3d10, 1d12. Godlike Flight. So he is just like, he's trying to get out of here, because he can see that she's about to do something bad. He got his shot in, and he's trying to get, zoom away at godlike laser speed. So that's a d12 for that. And then holographic construct, immunity, mirror, crime expert, science master. We said we allowed him to do. Yeah, and Storm doesn't have any stress, so he doesn't have anything else to add in. I'm thinking I could spend a die from the Doom Pool. I could spend that d12 to use intangibility in his pool as well. Just to like have him escape. Yeah, let's do that. So you can spend a plot point as a player to keep an extra trait die. If you do it as the watcher, you've got to spend a Doom Pool equivalent to the trait that you're trying to keep. So I have Godlike Flight already as a d12. And I'm going to add in intangibility. So I'm going to spend this d12 that I just created to add in another d12 for intangibility. Yeah. Okay. So we've got Storm's total is 14. I can beat 14 with the 9 and the 5. Or I can tie it, rather. I will spend another Doom die. To keep a third total. So I'm going to add the 5. I'm going to add the 9 and the 4 and the 5 for a total of 14, 18. With d12 effects, so we'll have the d4 that's left, the one that rolled the 4, we'll have that as our effect die. Is that what I want to do? then I can't. Doesn't really matter because then I can't inflict it because I don't have a D12 to spend out of the Doom pool. Yeah, alright. Maybe it's not worth doing that fancy thing. I'll take back a Doom die here. So it's just going to end up being a 5 and a 9, which is 14, with D12 effect, which does step down Storm effect die from a D10 to a D8, but it's still enough to stress out Living Laser. So, so he is now out. And what we'll say happens is he tries to get away. Storm's doing this like energy blast, lightning blast. He's trying to get away, and it like just tags him on the end. So like almost like a firework, just fractured light out across the bay and off into the city. And sort of that scream that kind of warbles out because he was already kind of like glitchy and distorted. So I tend to think he didn't get away. He's like, defeated and sort of like scattered and fractured from the lightning hitting him. That's cool. And like, yeah, I like that. Okay, so that was Storm, and that ends the round. So Storm gets to pick who goes next. Living Laser is gone. Let's have Scott go next. She's going to choose Scott, which makes sense, right? Because she just kind of took care, and she's like returning, and she says something like, "Sorry, I was distracted." Like that big theatrical, dramatic voice, right? "Sorry, I was distracted, Scott. What would you have him do?" Or we're back in action, or something like that. So Scott, he's got the stunt die, so we're going to use that next. We've got one die left of the minor villains, and we have Hydra Man, who's still like ready to go. So Scott's actually going to do this thing where he targets Hydra Man, and he says, "Forget about the inmates, focus on him," and like points out to Hydra Man like everyone should be focusing on Hydra Man. Of course, Colossus is probably going to be able to finish off the last inmate anyway. So Cyclops is going to try and blast Hydra Man and hope that the water, so like his concussive force blast is just going to like he has this ricochet SFX, so he's going to try to like ricochet it in the drops of water and like splash off the deck and stuff to like take out Hydra Man completely. So we're gonna go. So we're back to team. He's organizing the team, directing everybody's fire at Hydra Man. 1d10 for that, and then Tactical Genius. Let's go with 1d8 for that. Throw in the stunt die, 1d10. This is kind of like an interesting use of his powers. The Criminal Dossier, 1d10. Force Blast, 1d10. But the ricochet says step up or double, so we will step it up to a d12. Step up or double force blast die against a single target and remove the highest rolling die and add an additional die to your total. So we'll step it up to a d12, and then we won't use it for our total, but we'll get to pick 3 dice for a total. And then versatile doesn't matter, Ruby Quartz, blah blah blah, combat expert. Combat expert? Yeah, combat expert. All right, so we can't use that D12 6, but we get to add together 3 dice for a total. So Scott's total is the 10 plus the 9 plus the 6, I guess that's on the D8. So that's 16 plus 9 is 25. And then he can keep that D10 as his effect die. To do physical stress to Hydra Man, right? So we're doing the 10 that rolled the 10 plus the 10 that rolled the 9, so that's 19, plus the 6 that was on the D8, so that's 16 plus 9 is 25, and then we have a D10 that we can use as an effect die. So yeah. All right. So that's kind of like his concussive blast kind of goes out and like hits these different sometimes like when you watch like anime or something, like you'll see a bunch of missiles go out and they kind of go out and then like come all in like a smart bomb or something. So I figure that his like blast is hitting raindrops and scattering and then like refocusing. That'd be cool. Did he get the D10 for the dossier? Yeah, he did. Okay. So Hydra Man is no longer really part of the team. They're not even being targeted by Cyclops, so he's just going to get his D6. Dumb as a post, we're going to add as a D4, and oops. Probably add another D6 into our Doom pool. Start stepping up another die. Because he probably should have like escaped into the bay. He's made of water. It would have been easy, but we didn't. Dumb of a post. And then intangibility D10 or D8 rather. I don't think it's going to help him much. And then crime expert, that doesn't help him either. So he's almost certainly going to get taken out here, but we'll see how he rolls. Yeah. So he rolled a 3, a 1, and a 7. So he can't use the 1. He can use the 3 and the 7 for a total of 10 with a D4 effect. But Cyclops' total was 25, which is 3 heroic successes above a 10, which steps up Cyclops' D10 effect up to a D12, and then up and out, and there's an additional effect die, which you can't really... We could say maybe that he, like, deals it to the mob of minor villains, but we didn't narrate it that way, so it feels okay to just let it fade. But Hydra Man is splashed out. So he's kind of just like fizzled into steam, and so there's this roughly watery, steamy form, humanoid-ish form, now just laying on the deck, kind of like a puddle that's like pulsating, sort of a humanoid form, sort of a puddle, sort of a humanoid form, and there's steam coming out and stuff. But he is down. He is done. I probably actually should have reset all of the tokens. And now we bring Scott down here. And Scott gets to pick who goes next. So all we have left is the villains, the minor villains, so it makes sense that Colossus would be the one to be acting next. And so the kind of, we've had this splash, and then kind of like in the back of the panel is Cyclops still, or Colossus still battling these minor villains, these inmates. Which is pretty much a solo action at this point. Quick to anger? Do we want to use quick to anger? Do we want to make him getting angry? No, let's go Ironclad Loyalty. Godlike Strength. It's not an area attack situation because there's only 1 die left. And then Combat Expert. Ooh. 2 hitches. One of them was on the D12. So we will buy that, and we will step up the D6 twice, from a D6 to a D8 to a D10. So Colossus's total is just 9, with a D4 effect for physical stress on the mob, who does not have an amazing pool. Pretty much it's just the 1d6 for the team guy. But you know, it's only a 9. We could actually beat it. Let's go with Desperate at d6. They're not ready to give up. I mean, at this point, if you're still fighting Colossus, you're probably really like committed. So we'll go with Desperate as a, or not a d6, d8. Swarm d8. And then none of that matters. Okay, yeah, so we might actually... Yeah, alright. So they have a total of 12 with a D4 effect. Mob is still in it. Colossus did not roll. Two ones like that, especially with one of them being on the D12. Not so great. So that's Colossus is just kind of at a standstill. Who are the other villains that were in this? The Griffin? Ooh. And Mr. Hyde, I think. I'm trying to think of like people who don't need equipment but who might be able to kind of go toe to toe a little bit. Yeah. So it's like some of the bulky, the stronger supervillains who are now just kind of in a slugfest standstill with Colossus, winning not because they're stronger than him, but because there's more of them. Okay, so then who do we want to go next? Well, I kind of want to do a neat thing. And Colossus has plot points. Beast only got 1 turn. But we're going to have the GM go next, the Watcher. And the first thing that I'm going to do is spend a D10. I've never done this before. I'm going to spend a D10 to narrate that Storm is coming down to the deck, and as she's coming down, the deck blows apart. I mean, there's not much of this deck left, right? Blows apart, and 2 tentacles fly up. Actually, it's not even just 2. It's like 2 big ones, but then like a mess of littler ones. They just and just grab her and pull her down into below the decks. As they're like, all right, Colossus is almost done, and all of a sudden, she's like sucked down into the deck. Doesn't even have time to like scream out. And maybe because she landed and she's behind them, Beast and Cyclops don't necessarily notice it right away. So that's what I'm going to have to do first, and that will be, we'll switch over to that scene in a second, or maybe in the next video at this point. But then we'll have the mob of minor villains go ahead and try and take out Colossus. No, let's try to have them escape. So they're seeing that they're pretty much at this point done. They're going to try to like jump in the water and just like escape completely. So 1d6 plus 1d8, because there's a group of them, plus desperate 1d8. It's not really an area attack situation or anything. They're just trying to get away. So this will be to like make an asset of escaping, I guess. Unlikely to work, but it's fun. They're kind of running away. So mob total is 12 with d6 effect to make d6 escaping asset. And specifically that would be like targeting Colossus. So Colossus is going to get to do his solo. Now we'll use quick to anger at a d4. Because he's like upset. He's getting pushed back and forth by these folks, and he's not happy about that. So grab another plot point and pull it down here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop it. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess we'll delete it. Oh, you know what we can do? We can copy paste. There we go. So now he's got 3. Because we'll hinder that quick to anger. But we will use godlike strength just to represent the fact that he's like trying to grab him. Not area attack, and then combat expert 1d8. Yeah, I think this is how we'd rule this. I'm kind of just following my heart here at this point. Colossus's total is... Well, so let's give him another plot point. And buy that hitch, or buy that 1. To step up one of these d10s to a d12. Oops. And then for his total, he will go with a total of 12 is what they had. See, I was thinking I could have him do like a counterattack thing, but with these particular dice, it doesn't exactly work. Well, we can spend a plot point, because we have them. We'll make a total of 14 with d4 effect. So the mob fails to like get away, and Colossus is like grabbing their ankles and like keeping them back in the fight. So that's them, and then so that leaves us with Beast, and Storm is kind of like not in this. 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 Storm is kind of like not in this in this moment. She's not on the deck. So we'll switch to Beast, and he'll say something smart like, "My comrade, you look like you could use a hand or two, and maybe some feet." And he just like lunges over there to try to like help him out and tackle these villains. So this will be more of a buddy action actually, because he's helping out Colossus. Smartest man in the room. Oh, Colossus didn't use the dossier asset. Daggone it. That probably would have made a difference. Alright, so 1d8 for Beast. Let's throw in the 1d10 dossier now before I forget it. Renaissance Beast, 1d8 for Renaissance Beast. This is more in his wheelhouse. And then probably d10 Strength. Just fighting him. We could do Claws and Fangs. I don't think so. That's not really how we narrated it. We'll do another d10 for Acrobatic Master. He's just kind of like going in Beast Foo, sort of, to knock these folks out. Yeah. So we have a 4, a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 3. That is not a great roll, Beast. But he does have 3 plot points. So let's do a 4, a 3, and a 2 for a total of 9. So if he does the 4 and a 2 and a 3 for a total of 9 with a d10 effect. We could spend more plot points to keep more dice, but I mean, a difference of 2, I don't think that makes a difference. Although they held their own against Colossus. Wait, did I throw in a... Yeah, I did throw in Acrobatic Master. Okay. Well, so here we go. Mob reaction roll. 1d6 plus 1d8 for being desperate plus 1d8 for swarm. A 6, a 2, and a 2. But we are not going to spend Doom Dice on them anymore. So a total of 8 with D8 effects, which means Beast finally helps take out the mob. So he tips the scales in the difference. The mob is now taken out of the scene. Oh, I didn't officially take out Hydra Man. Move these little bars down. So at this point, because folks were focused on that, you know, Beast kind of comes in and helps pummel, and they've got him on the deck, and then they turn around, and Scott's like, "Storm? Storm!" like hitting his little activator, communicator thing, and they can't find her. And so that's where we'll actually stop with this scene, and we'll pick up with Storm in the next scene next time. And I'm actually really excited about it. That's the first time I've ever split the team up. That was cool. I like it. All right, so that's what we've got today. Yeah, I think that's it. That's what we'll end on. So appreciate you watching from the Summers boys and myself. I don't know how long that was. My voice feels like it's giving out, so I'll probably get the video up in a little while, but not today. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments, your thoughts, observations. I don't think I missed anything, but I always think that, and I'm always wrong. And then if you've played this scenario and it went differently, or you played this scenario and you've used these villains, maybe you know of some cool ways that you can do things, and you can leave those comments down below as well. And if there are mistakes, if I made mistakes, I'll record them in the description block. So, and it'll be at the top, so it'll be obvious. Other than that, I think we'll call it there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Excelsior.